Canadian Campaholic here, coming to you from Farms Provincial Park. First trip of the camping season for 2021, and it feels absolutely fabulous. Wonderful, wonderful weekend. In a few moments we'll share some footage of our arrival. We arrived on Friday. We tried to leave home exceedingly early because we were worried that since it was the first day for the camping season, it was going to be absolutely insane. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm keeping my voice down so I don't disturb people around me. We figured it would be nuts. We figured there'd be campers lined up all over the place, and we got here, and as you will see, there was not really anybody around. So we've had a great couple of days exploring the area. We love Goderich. We love Point Farms. We've been here a lot. It's one of our favorites. It's now Saturday evening. I'm enjoying a nice bit of a fire here. The kids and I are going to go down to the beach just for a little bit before sunset, although it's a bit overcast, so I don't know there will be a sunset tonight. And then we pack up and head home tomorrow after a very successful trip. So anyway, let's jump over to a little bit of info about this trip and what we've been up to.
So the reality of this video is that we've actually been to Point Farms several times during the season, and I kept meaning to splice together clips and video, but just had some challenges. But I want to talk about Point Farms as a provincial park. This is definitely our number 2 park after the Pinery. Love going to Point Farms in the summer, usually in July and August. Point Farms is located about 10 minutes north of the town of Goderich. It's a fairly small park as far as provincial parks go, but that's actually a good thing because it's far less busy. Some of the things that we like about Point Farms is, of course, its location on Lake Huron, the north shores of Lake Huron. Absolutely stunning sunsets, amazing beaches, and just a really, really nice campground with, I would say, between 200 to 300 sites, so it's not crazy, crazy busy. Within Point Farms itself, there's 2 sections. There's Colborne in the northern part of the campground, and then Huron in the southern. Now, we typically stay in Huron because it's radio free, which means that you cannot have any electronically created music playing outside. And I know that makes us sound like fuddy-duddies, but if I go to a provincial park, I go to enjoy peace and quiet and nature. I don't want to listen to other people's loud music or radio stations and radio advertisements and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of experience with Colborne, so most of my comments in terms of this review will focus on the Huron section. Now, one of the biggest things that really draws me to Point Farms is not just the park itself, it is its proximity to the beautiful town of Goderich, Ontario. Goderich, Ontario, at this time of year, when all the flowers are out, is an absolutely beautiful town. Love visiting. The focal point of the town, of course, is its amazing beach, but before you get there, you get to drive around the town center, which I believe is an octagon, but it's this really cool giant roundabout of stores that surrounds this central area. I believe the town hall may be in the middle. I'm not really an expert on Goderich, but I will say that it's a beautiful town center. Lots and lots of stores. Always reminds me a little bit of Hill Valley from Back to the Future. I really don't know why. Even comes complete with a sort of 1950s style movie theater. Once you leave the downtown core area, you can then drive down the hill because all of Goderich and Point Farms is located up on a bluff down to the Goderich Beach. There's several beaches along there, and it culminates in the Cove Beach. In the past, we would spend quite a bit of time at Goderich Beach. We always loved driving down the hill, going past the harbor. Of course, there's a huge salt mine. Sifto salt mine is in Goderich, and they mine tons of salt in mines underneath the lake, and then you can see huge container ships leaving the harbor. But once you get past there, there's an old railway station that's been turned into a restaurant. Apparently it's fabulous. We haven't had a chance to try that yet. But the Goderich Beach itself is really, really nice. A nice boardwalk, lots of places for you to sit and have a picnic and enjoy the day at the beach. But in recent months, we've actually been enjoying the Goderich Beach, the Point Farms Beach a little bit more, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But either way, having a nice town like Goderich to go to during your trip is great. There's all kinds of amenities there, grocery stores, a Walmart, a Canadian Tire, pharmacies, fast food, restaurants. So if you need things of that nature, groceries and the like, then it's great to have that, like I said, within 10 minutes of Point Farms. Now, in terms of Point Farms itself, there's not an awful lot to do at this park, so if you're someone that needs a lot of outdoor pursuits, this might not be the park for you. There are some trails. They're pretty basic. Point Farms was originally founded as a hotel in the late 1800s. They grew a lot of produce and farm stuff there, and it was sort of a health resort, if you could call it that. And I believe the hotel was in place until the early 1900s, and it was called the Point Farms Hotel. So the campground resides on the land that was part of the Point Farms Resort. So most of the trails are kind of through grassy areas, some field areas. Pretty good in terms of walking. There's not a lot of slopes and crazy terrain to deal with. But really outside of that, the only other thing really to do at Point Farms is, of course, go to the beach. Now, in recent years, with the water levels being insane, the beach, there's a lot of the beach is gone. A lot of it is underwater now. There's a series of large stairs that go some 200 feet down the bluff to the beach, but a lot of those are closed now due to erosion. So what you end up doing is you end up driving down this large sloping road down to the beach. And what I like about the Point Farms beach is that it's quite sandy. This year, the water level has dropped, so you've got a little more space to go. And it's a great place to spend the day swimming. It stays shallow for quite a ways. It's not terribly busy, because, again, there's only a couple of hundred or a few hundred campsites at Point Farms. But in addition to the lookout point that we saw earlier that my kids showed you, where you can see the sunset, it's also nice to go down to the beach level to watch the sunset as well. And my kids love being in the water, so most evenings we actually drive down to the beach, regardless of the weather, to watch the evening sky down there.
I'm going to record a video of us going there. I'm with Raimi. Raimi, say hello. Okay, hear me.
I'm not deaf.
Okay. Can't really see the. Looks really foggy. Or for some reason on the phone it's blue.
In terms of the campsites themselves, generally speaking, the sites at Point Farms are quite spacious. A lot of them are serviced with electricity. For water, you've got to fill at the fill station, but there are water taps or spigots throughout the area. But as you can see in this video clip, this is one of the more spacious sites. I don't know the exact dimensions. It was like 15 meters by 10 or something crazy like that. I've muted the audio a little bit because my kids always like to say goofy things while I'm trying to film. But it's a beautiful spot. Lots of very mature trees, lots of birds, very peaceful. The campsites are pretty easy to get into with a trailer, or if you're tenting, there's lots of room to put all kinds of tents and shelters and other equipment. So in terms of the actual sites themselves, that again is another reason why I really enjoy going to Point Farms. Now, one of the last things I will really say in this quick review of Point Farms, which really appeals to me, is the fact that they've got 2 water fill stations for our trailer and 2 dumping stations. And that's pretty awesome when you consider that a campsite or a campground or park like Pinery, which has 1,000 campsites, only has 2 dump stations and 2 fill stations, which is crazy. You end up spending hours waiting to dump the tank and quite a long time to fill, depending on when you arrive. Point Farms, even if there is a line, it's very short. You don't have to sit there very long. In fact, in most cases, as you can see in the video, when we pull up to dump the tanks, there's nobody there. Not a big deal if you're a tent camper, but if you have an RV where you have holding tanks, that is a huge blessing and makes the whole process a lot less stressful. There's lots of other things I probably could talk about as it relates to Point Farms. At the guardhouse, they've got some souvenirs up there. You can get firewood and souvenirs there. There's also a nice little market, the Point Farms Market, just across the street. Has ice cream, groceries, supplies, mini golf. Obviously, you know, it's a bit of a tourist trap, so the prices are a little bit high, but still great service. Great little store if you need supplies. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go into Goderich as well. If you're a fan of Point Farms and there's some key things that I've missed that you want to talk about, feel free to pop some comments down below. But yeah, that kind of encapsulates my feelings on Point Farms.
Welcome back. So to kind of sum up the video, been a fairly quiet weekend. Didn't have the chaos that we thought there would be. No sign of the dreaded gypsy moths here at Point Farms. I'm not saying that they're not here, but we've been in Huron for 2 days now and I haven't seen any. I understand they are a problem this time of year in other locations. We are actually going to Goderich Provincial Park in a couple of weeks, and apparently they are a real problem there. In fact, we've seen them when they're in the moth stage. We haven't dealt with the caterpillar stage, but we're going to be staying in dunes, and I don't know that the dunes campground gets a lot of them. But very much looking forward to that. And should be a pretty good season. You know, 2020 was cut short too. It started around the same time. And we had a pretty good season. So hoping that this will be just as great. But anyway, we're going to wrap this video up. Hope you guys are getting out there and starting your season. If you don't already, please do subscribe. And feel free to hit that like button. Tell us about your first experience in the comments. Talk to you later.